All right, let's jump straight into this breaking explainer. Because wow, an absolute shockwave just hit the tech world, and we need to talk about it. We are looking at the abrupt, completely unprecedented global shutdown of the world's most powerful AI model. Think about it. A massive commercial software product pulled offline overnight, not because of a glitch, but because of a direct intervention by the United States government. If you've been following the AI space, you know it moves at lightning speed. But what just happened with Anthropic's Fable 5 and Mythos 5 models? We have literally never seen anything like this before.
Just listen to this actual statement from Anthropic. It drops us right into this wild new reality. Frontier AI models are officially being treated as restricted government assets. Notice the language here. This wasn't a polite request from the government. It was a strict directive. Out of nowhere, citing national security authorities, they demanded a total suspension of access. This is a monumental shift, guys. We aren't just talking about helpful coding assistants or chatbots anymore. Authorities are now viewing this technology through the exact same lens as highly sensitive military or intelligence assets.
Section 1. The Unprecedented AI Ban. Let's look at the incredibly wild 72 hours from launch to total lockdown.
Talk about giving an entire industry severe whiplash. On June 9th, Fable 5 launches to massive, industry-wide hype. Then, just 3 days later, at exactly 5:21 p.m. Eastern Time on June 12th, Anthropic gets the government directive. By that very same evening, global access was completely disabled for everyone. Going from the highly anticipated launch of a state-of-the-art AI model to a complete global blackout in just 72 hours is honestly enough to give anyone vertigo.
So you might be wondering, why the total global blackout? Well, here's where technical reality crashed headfirst into legal mandates. The government's export directive specifically targeted foreign nationals. Under U.S. law, that's anyone who isn't a U.S. citizen or permanent resident, no matter where they are physically located. This even included Anthropic's own non-U.S. employees. Now think about how API keys work. It is practically impossible to instantly and accurately verify the nationality of every single user hitting your servers. So to ensure legal compliance and avoid massive penalties, Anthropic had absolutely no choice. They had to pull the plug on the whole thing. Moving to Section 2. What made Fable 5 special? To really understand why the government intervened so aggressively, we need to look at this lost asset's raw power. The leap in capabilities we saw with this model was massive, and honestly, frighteningly powerful. Just look at the SWE-bench Pro coding benchmark, which is a brutally rigorous test of an AI's ability to solve real-world software engineering problems. The previous top-tier model, Opus 4.8, maxed out at a 69% success rate. Fable 5 absolutely shattered that, jumping to 80%. That is not an incremental update. That is a monumental leap in logic, reasoning, and autonomous execution.
And it gets crazier, because this wasn't just theoretical power trapped in a lab. We're talking about an autonomous builder doing unimaginable corporate feats almost instantly. During early testing, the payments giant Stripe handed Fable 5 a sprawling 50 million-line Ruby codebase. The AI autonomously performed a massive migration in a single day, a task that Stripe's own human engineers estimated would have taken a whole team over 2 months to do manually.
The community also pushed this thing to its absolute limits in those brief 72 hours it was live. Users were getting it to build fully playable 3D games and complex city simulators from just a single prompt. It autonomously beat the game Pokemon Fire Red using only visual inputs. Someone else had it design a humanoid robot in a massive session, using 1.4 million tokens. It even acted as a live engineer, silently listening in on a client meeting and writing the requested software features in real time before the Zoom call even ended. When you see wild feats like this, it becomes pretty clear why a model of this magnitude might make national security folks incredibly nervous.
Section 3. The National Security Jailbreak. So what was the exact catalyst for the ban that Friday afternoon?
It all comes down to jailbreaking, which is a super critical concept to understand here. Basically, a jailbreak is a psychological trick played on the AI. It's a method where you craft highly specific prompts to bypass the strict safety guardrails that the developers built into the system. The government directive was reportedly triggered by fears that someone had successfully jailbroken Fable 5, which could potentially unlock its massive intelligence for highly restricted cybersecurity or even biological capabilities.
Here is how that catalyst reportedly played out step by step. Researchers at Amazon, who, by the way, are a major partner and investor in Anthropic, used a specific prompting technique to get Fable 5 to analyze a codebase. During this, the model ended up identifying some software flaws and minor security vulnerabilities. This specific interaction was then shared with the U.S. government.
Authorities seemingly viewed this as a critical, unacceptable breach of the model's safety, which prompted the immediate export control directive.
Section 4. Anthropic's defense strategy. This whole situation created a massive clash over safety, and Anthropic absolutely did not agree with the government's call. We're looking at two totally dueling perspectives here on how to govern frontier AI. On one side, the US government takes a strict national security stance. Any bypass of a frontier model is seen as a potential gateway to catastrophic cyber capabilities, requiring an immediate shutdown. On the other side, Anthropic argues the technical reality. They claim the bypass was incredibly narrow, only surfaced minor, already known vulnerabilities, and crucially, that existing public models like OpenAI's GPT 5.5 could already do the exact same thing without any special bypass. We're just observing it, but it's a profound clash of paradigms, showing how deeply complicated regulating this tech is becoming. Anthropic vigorously defended themselves by highlighting their intense defense in-depth strategy. Before launch, they spent thousands of hours red-teaming the model with the US government and the UK's AI Safety Institute. They had strict internal classifiers built in, meaning if you asked Fable 5 a dangerous biology or cyber question, the system would instantly intercept it and reroute you to the weaker Opus 4.8 model. They even had a controversial mandatory 30-day data retention policy specifically set up to monitor and catch any malicious jailbreak attempts. But here is where it gets really philosophically interesting. Anthropic made a crucial, completely honest admission. Perfect jailbreak resistance is not currently possible for any model provider. They used this fact to argue a much larger point. If a narrow, non-universal jailbreak is enough to justify an emergency ban from the government, then the logical conclusion is that it would essentially halt all new AI model development across the entire industry, because right now, no model on Earth is 100% impenetrable.
Section 5. The global AI fallout. What happens when AI becomes a controlled asset? The macro implications of this extend way beyond just one company. The crucial takeaway here is that this ban is a massive global warning shot. AI is officially transitioning from standard commercial software into a heavily restricted national security asset, and that threatens to create a highly fragmented global market. If you're a non-US developer, you might suddenly find yourself entirely locked out of the world's most powerful tools. This drastically accelerates the geopolitical intelligence race, especially between the US and China. Plus, now that people realize their cloud access can be revoked literally overnight, we're already seeing a massive surge in demand for powerful, uncensored, open-source models that run locally on private hardware, completely immune to any government kill switches.
And just to put the sheer economic scale of this disruption into perspective, look at this number. $965 billion. That was Anthropic's staggering estimated valuation right before the government pulled their flagship product offline. We're talking about a company on the verge of $1 trillion valuation, generating immense revenue, and boom, overnight their primary growth engine was halted by a regulatory mandate. The financial and structural shockwaves from this are just starting to hit.
So I'll leave you with this final, provocative thought to consider. If the most advanced intelligence ever created by humanity is increasingly treated as a restricted, controlled national security asset, who ultimately gets to participate in the global intelligence economy? Does this mean we're going to see a permanent underclass of developers and nations who are simply locked out of the future? Keep a close eye on this space, because the rules of the AI revolution were just radically rewritten. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.